This is fictional story to bring faith in heart.
I built machines that made people feel powerful. But now, I can't even lift my own hand. Funny. We spend our lives chasing something: approval, legacy, light, and in the end, it's the smallest things we remember. The light in someone's eyes, the weight of silence in a room, the way a child says your name. I'm not writing this for the world, not for a keynote, not for a product launch. This isn't for headlines. This is for whoever needs it. I used to think success was a finish line. You run fast enough, you get there. You win. But here, in this bed, surrounded by wires and the smell of antiseptic, I realize there is no finish line. Only the question: did you love anyone well? Not many people visit anymore. Some don't know what to say. Some are too busy building their own empires. I understand. I really do. I was the same. There's a chair at the foot of my bed, always empty. It stares at me like a question I never answered. Yesterday, a nurse, Lena, walked in. Young, gentle, no idea who I was. She smiled like the world hadn't broken her yet. She said, "You should rest, Mr. Jobs." And I told her, "What's the point of rest when your mind won't?" She said, "Maybe your mind is trying to say goodbye." That stayed with me. Later, she brought me a drawing, crayon on white paper, a stick figure holding a glowing square. Underneath it said, "Thank you for the iPad. Love, Mateo." Her nephew has autism. The iPad helps him speak. She said it changed his world. I stared at that drawing like it was the Mona Lisa. I thought I was building tools, but I was giving someone a voice. All those sleepless nights, product launches, moments of doubt, maybe they weren't about money or market share. Maybe they were steps towards something softer. I always thought the point of creation was impact. But now, I wonder if it's something quieter, something slower, something human. So I started writing. Not code, not strategy. A note, a single line to begin with. I thought success was the summit, but now I see it's not even the mountain. I underlined it, twice, because I needed to remember. And maybe someone else does too. The chair is still there, still empty. But now, it doesn't feel so lonely. Sometimes, even an empty chair can listen.
There's a mirror in the hospital bathroom. It's too high, too honest. Sometimes I go there just to look at him, the man in the glass. Not the visionary, not the CEO, not the black turtlenecked genius from the keynote stage. Just a man, tired, smaller than he remembers being, wearing a face he barely recognizes. He doesn't look like someone who changed the world. He looks like someone who forgot to slow down long enough to feel it. I asked the mirror today, thoughtful, "Did I live a good life?" The mirror didn't answer. But I saw something in my eyes I haven't seen in a long time. Hunger, not for more, but for peace. Lena walked in while I was still staring. She didn't ask questions, just handed me a bowl of soup. Still warm, smelled like tomatoes and something her grandmother might have made. "It's not on the menu," she whispered. "I just thought you might like something that felt real." I thanked her, not with words, but with the way I held the spoon. I don't remember the last time someone gave me something without wanting anything back. She sat in the chair, the one at the foot of my bed, no longer empty. And we didn't talk. We just ate, like two people who didn't owe each other anything, except presence. Later, she asked, thoughtful, "What would you tell your younger self?" I thought about it, about all the fire and ambition, the perfectionism that made people cry behind glass doors, the drive that lit me up and burned others down. I said, I'd tell him to look up more, to listen longer, to love deeper. She nodded, didn't say much, but her silence felt like agreement. Back on my pad, I wrote, I climbed ladders, but forgot to plant trees. How many moments did I rush past? How many people did I leave behind because I thought the view would be better at the top? Truth is, the view up there is lonely and cold. Nobody tells you that when you're 25 or 35 or standing in front of 1,000 people holding the future in your hand. But now, I know. And if this note can reach someone, one person, before they trade their heart for a calendar of deadlines, then it's worth writing. The man in the glass still looks tired, but maybe not so alone. Maybe tomorrow I'll stop staring at him and start forgiving him. There's a boy who visits the room next door. About 9 years old. Tiny. Bald from the treatments. Always smiling. Like joy is something he never had to learn. Today, he wandered into my room by mistake. He held an orange in one hand and a stuffed giraffe in the other.
He looked up at me like I was just another old man in a bed. No awe, no fear. "Hi," he said. "Are you dying too?" I choked on the air between us. He didn't mean it cruelly. He said it the way kids ask if you like dinosaurs. Curious, simple, unafraid. I nodded. "Yeah, I think so." He sat on the floor, uninvited, completely welcome. "My name's Eli." "Steve," I said. "I know. My dad says you made the phone that makes people forget to talk." He laughed. I laughed too, because he wasn't wrong. He peeled his orange slowly, offering me a slice. I took it. First solid thing I'd eaten in days. Sweet. Honest. "What do you think happens next?" I asked him, "after we go?" He shrugged. "I don't know, but I hope it feels like when my mom brushes my hair." That sentence, it shattered something in me. Not because of theology, not because of fear, but because of how much that answer held. Love, comfort, trust. I spent my life asking the big questions, building things that felt important. But this boy, he held more truth in one sentence than I ever did in all my board meetings. After he left, I wrote, "Maybe the next world is less about answers and more about being held." I kept thinking about that orange, how it tasted like real life, how it reminded me of my father. He used to peel oranges for me at the kitchen table. He never said much, just handed me a slice, warm from his hand. I used to think love was loud, big gestures, big changes, big ideas. But maybe love is just an orange, quietly shared. No strings, no lessons, just presence. I spent so long designing simplicity into machines, making things easy, intuitive. But people? I never figured out how to make love intuitive. I wish I had. And I cross too. There's an orange on my nightstand now, unpeeled, waiting. Maybe tomorrow I'll share it with Lena. Maybe I'll ask her about her grandmother's soup. Maybe I'll start treating people like I treated ideas, with wonder.
Some things can't be undone, but they can still be forgiven. That's something I never really understood until now. There's a note I never sent, folded in the drawer by my bedside, wrinkled, yellowed, unsent for over a decade. It's for Lisa, my daughter. I denied her once, tried to rewrite biology with pride. I was so focused on what I could invent, I forgot who I helped create. She called last month, left a message I couldn't listen to. Not because I didn't care, but because I cared too late. Today, Lena sat with me again. She was humming a song. Soft, slow. It reminded me of my mother folding laundry. I asked her, "Thought, do you think people ever truly change?" She looked at me for a long moment and said, "I think people remember love, even when it's buried under years of noise." That sentence sank into me like warm water. So I opened the drawer, unfolded the letter. It said, "Lisa, I'm sorry I didn't hold you when I should have. I was afraid of becoming small. But now I see the smallest things are what make a man whole." I never mailed it because I thought brilliance made me bulletproof. But now I see brilliance means nothing without the bravery to say I was wrong. When I finally told Lena the truth about the letter, about Lisa, about the silence I built around myself, she didn't lecture. She just said, "You can still write another one. This time, mail it." So I did. Shaky hands, sore heart. I wrote a new note, not polished, not clever, just human.
You didn't need a perfect father, just a present one. I'm sorry I didn't know that until now. I don't know if she'll read it, but I hope she does. I hope it softens something. Not for me, for her. Later, I stared at the ceiling for a long time, thinking about all the apologies we store like unread drafts, hidden in the inboxes of our hearts. If I could go back, I'd send every one of them, even the awkward ones, even the late ones, because late love is still love. And regret is just love that waited too long to speak. So here's what I know now. You don't have to be right to be forgiven. You just have to be real and willing, because the people we hurt, they're not waiting for perfection. They're waiting to know we still care.
The night was quiet. No beeping, no nurses moving down the hall, just the hum of the world letting you rest. And then, I felt arms around me. It startled me, not because of fear, but because I hadn't been held like that in years. It was Lisa. She didn't knock. She just walked in and wrapped her arms around me, like I was still someone worth forgiving. No speeches, no anger, no wounds reopened, just a quiet hug. I couldn't speak. So I cried, softly, into her shoulder, the way I used to cry as a child, when the world was too big. She held me tighter, like she knew, like she remembered every absence, and still chose presence. Later, we sat together, her hand over mine. The machines beeped gently behind us, like a lullaby. She said, "You missed so much." I nodded. I know. But you're not missing this. There was a time I thought I could control the future, architect it, design it, but you can't blueprint a hug. You can't manufacture forgiveness. It comes like grace, unearned, undeserved, but deeply needed. I wrote a line down on my pad. Forgiveness is not a transaction. It's a gift. I've spent decades trading ideas, pitching, persuading, perfecting. But love doesn't work like that. You can't earn it. You can only accept it. And for the first time, I let myself do that. Lisa told me about her life, her daughter, her painting. She said she once drew a portrait of me from a photograph, but burned it. Why, I asked. Because I didn't want to remember you that way. That hurt, but I understood. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a new sketch. It was me, in the hospital bed, older, fragile, and in the background, she'd drawn herself, as a child, hand outstretched, waiting. She placed it on my lap, didn't say a word. I looked at her and whispered, "I see you now." She smiled, eyes wet. I know. That night, I couldn't sleep. But for once, I didn't feel tired. I felt light, like something had been lifted, or maybe returned. The next morning, the nurse came in and saw the sketch. She said, "It looks like love found its way home." I finished the letter today, the one I started weeks ago, the one that kept me up at night. Line by line, it wrote me back to life. It isn't long, no grand finale, just truth, written softly. I signed my name, folded it slowly, and placed it beside the orange. Maybe someone will read it after I'm gone. Maybe no one will. But it's there, and that's enough. Lena stopped by, as always.
This time, she brought no soup, no drawing, just herself. We sat by the window. The sun poured in, gold, low, kind. She handed me a small paper crane, made from a cafeteria napkin. For peace, she said. It's tradition. I held it in my hand like it was made of glass, and I asked, "Why did you keep visiting?" She smiled. Because no one should leave the world without knowing they mattered. And suddenly, it all made sense. The inventions, the ambition, the years I spent trying to prove I was somebody, all I ever wanted was to matter. But I was looking in the wrong places. It wasn't in applause or product launches or glowing screens. It was here, in this room, in a nurse's quiet kindness, in my daughter's forgiveness, in a boy's shared orange, in a crayon drawing I'll never forget. I once asked, "What's next?" Now I think the better question is, what did I leave behind? Not things, not titles, but traces of love. Moments that help someone feel less alone. A word, a smile, a presence. I looked at Lena and said, "Thank you." 2 words I never said enough. And she just nodded. Like she knew how much it cost me. Like she knew how deeply I meant it. Lisa came back that evening. She sat beside me, held my hand, and told me a story from her childhood. One I missed. I closed my eyes and tried to picture it, tried to step inside it, to be there, even if only now. When she finished, I whispered, "I'm proud of you." And she replied, "You don't have to say that." But I did, because I meant it, because it was true, and because love, when it's real, has no deadline. The lights dimmed, the machines hummed, the world outside carried on. I breathed slower,